It's funny how sometimes the biggest lessons in life come from the simplest things. Have you ever been just looking at something in nature and bam, it just hits you? It's not always in some big, complicated book. Sometimes the most profound truths are just growing in the garden. And that's exactly what we're going to get into today.
So I'd like you to meet the SunPatiens. Yeah, at first glance, you just see this explosion of color, right? Super cheerful, everywhere. But trust me, there is so much more going on here than just being a pretty face. These flowers, they're like a living story about strength, about endurance, and about what it really means to thrive.
And this really brings us to the big question, doesn't it? What on earth can this one plant teach us about how to flourish when life gets intense, when the pressure's on? I mean, really flourish. Well, let's dive in and find out.
Okay, so to really get the lesson here, we first have to understand the flower itself. Its entire story, really, starts with its unique relationship to the one thing that gives a lot of other plants a really hard time, the sun.
Now, SunPatiens are actually a pretty amazing feat of horticulture. They're a hybrid plant, mostly developed from New Guinea impatiens, and they were specifically bred to solve a common problem for gardeners. And their most remarkable quality? Well, it's a pretty big hint right there in the name.
And this is the absolute key. See, traditional impatiens, you put them in direct, intense sunlight, and they just wilt. They can't handle it. They need shade. But SunPatiens were literally designed to do the complete opposite. They don't just endure the sun's heat and light. They don't just tolerate it. They actively use it to become more vibrant and more abundant. They flourish.
This whole thriving in the sun thing, it's not some kind of happy accident. It's part of a whole package of characteristics that makes this plant an absolute powerhouse of resilience. I mean, gardeners absolutely love them, and for good reason. Just look at this list. They adapt to sun, heat, and humidity. That's the triple threat right there. They just keep on blooming for months. They grow into these big, lush mounds, and get this, they're even resistant to diseases that used to wipe out older varieties. Botanically speaking, they are just built to last.
And this is such a great way to put it. We so often connect delicate beauty with being fragile, right? But with SunPatiens, their incredible beauty is a direct result of their strength. It's an outward sign of some serious inner resilience.
So, we've got the gardening science down. Now let's see how this all builds, because this is where a simple flower starts to become a pretty profound metaphor. And believe it or not, the clues have been there the whole time, right in its name.
So let's just break the name down. Sun, that's obvious, of course. It means light, warmth, exposure. But the word impatience, that comes from Latin, and it means impatient or eager. It's actually a reference to how its seed pods just burst open. So you put them together and you get this really beautiful, almost poetic meaning, the eager ones that thrive in the sun.
Now, hold that thought, eager ones that thrive in the sun. Let's connect it to a much bigger spiritual concept. For thousands of years, across so many traditions, light has been this incredibly powerful symbol. In Scripture, it's very often used to represent the presence of God. Truth, clarity, goodness.
This verse from 1 John makes that connection crystal clear. God is light, and in him is no darkness at all. So light isn't just a symbol for the divine, it's part of its very essence. It's this force that illuminates, that exposes, and leaves absolutely no room for darkness. So if light is a metaphor for God's presence,
Well, then the parallel just becomes incredibly obvious. Just like some plants wilt in the sun, some hearts can kind of shrink from truth and exposure. But the SunPatiens, it gives us a totally different model. It shows us a life that doesn't just tolerate the light, but actually flourishes in it, growing stronger and more beautiful because of that exposure.
and you see this idea reinforced throughout Scripture. This verse from James tells us that the trials we face, the heat and intense sun of life, they aren't meant to destroy our faith. They're meant to produce perseverance. It's just like the SunPatiens developing stronger roots and stems in the heat. Our faith can actually be strengthened by adversity.
So what can we really take away from all this, from this beautiful, natural parable? Let's try to distill it all down into 4 clear, memorable lessons that the SunPatiens is quietly teaching us. All right, first, flourish in the light. Don't hide from truth, because real growth happens out in the open, in God's light. Second, endurance produces beauty. Those amazing blooms come from withstanding the heat. Third, life is meant to multiply beauty. Those flowers don't just exist for themselves, they serve the entire ecosystem around them. And finally, number 4, strength can and should coexist with gentleness. It's a strong plant holding a delicate blossom.
And all of this leads us to one final, really powerful reflection. It's about the very posture of this remarkable plant and what it might mean for us.
You know, in a world where it seems like so many things just wilt under pressure or try to hide from exposure, the SunPatiens offers this quiet little sermon. It stands confidently in the absolute brightest part of the garden, reminding us that we were designed to grow toward the light, not shrink away from it.
And maybe that's the ultimate lesson right there. What we're seeing in this flower is the posture of a life that's actually designed for the light. A life where the very source of all that intensity becomes the source of vitality, of strength, and of enduring joy. And that, well, that's a pretty beautiful thought to carry with you.